So what happens when a country's entire economy just falls apart? When the formal systems crumble and the government gets desperate, turning to its own natural resources, not for growth, but just for survival. Well, today we're diving into what that looks like. A story about a nation's wealth being dug from the earth in a chaotic, unregulated free-for-all.
And this quote from our source material really just says it all, doesn't it? Welcome to the Arcom Minero. Just think about that for a second. A territory bigger than Portugal, where the rule of law simply went to die. It paints an immediate, powerful picture of absolute chaos.
All right, first up, the lawless zone. We need to understand what the Arcom Minero actually is and, how this massive, chaotic territory even came to be in the first place. The story, funnily enough, starts with the collapse of a totally different industry.
And there it is. This is the root cause. Venezuela's economy was built on oil, right? So, when that whole industry fell apart, literally the pumps rusted, the experts fled, the government, according to the source, turned its eyes to the Amazon, desperately looking for a new source of cash, no matter the cost.
So on paper, this thing sounds official. The Arco Minero del Orinoco. It was designated for strategic development by the state. But the reality on the ground? Well, our source describes it as a territory that's not really controlled by the government at all, but by criminal gangs.
And the scale here is it's mind-boggling. We're talking 122,000 square kilometers. Let me put that in perspective for you again. That is a chunk of land larger than the entire country of Portugal. A huge, sprawling piece of the Amazon basically carved out for this one purpose.
Okay, Section 2, Mining with Mercury. Look, it's not just the lawlessness that's the problem here. It's the actual methods they're using. What's happening on the ground is described as nothing short of pure destruction.
Yeah, the source is really clear on this point. It draws a sharp line between legitimate industrial mining and this. The word it uses is ecocide, the intentional destruction of the natural environment. That's a powerful claim, framing this whole thing not as an economic plan, but as a crime against the planet itself.
And the process they use is just brutally simple and incredibly toxic. First, you dig up the earth. Simple enough. Second, you mix all that soil with liquid mercury, which clings to any tiny bits of gold. And third, you just burn the whole mixture. This sends clouds of poisonous mercury vapor straight into the air, and what's left behind is the gold. It's cheap, it's fast, and it leaves behind a truly devastating toxic legacy. So, they've poisoned the land to get the gold. But where does all that gold go? Well, it's not heading to a national bank vault. Nope. Instead, this gold becomes the currency for a sprawling global criminal network. And this is the crucial part to understand. This is not just a local issue. The gold that's ripped out of the Arcom Minero is smuggled out of the country, fast. According to the source, there's a whole network of private planes flying this illegal cargo to different international destinations.
And hey, these destinations are not random. The source specifically points to Turkey and Iran as key hubs for this smuggled Venezuelan gold. So this isn't just about selling a precious metal, it's about moving value through very specific geopolitical channels.
And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Why there? Well, by flying gold to these specific countries, the regime can allegedly get around traditional financial systems, bypass international sanctions, and turn an environmental catastrophe into cold, hard currency that it can use on the world stage.
Okay, let's bring this all back home. We've seen how the gold gets dug up and where it gets sent, but how in the world does an operation of this size keep going? Well, the source claims it all comes down to a deeply corrupt system.
Our source describes the system not as a government running an economy, but as something more like a mafia shakedown. I mean, that is a stark comparison. It suggests the entire apparatus of the state is being used for personal profit and control, not for actually governing a country.
So, how do you keep everyone loyal in a system like this? According to the source, it's incredibly direct. Key military and government officials are allegedly paid off, not with a paycheck, but with actual bags of cash or bars of the very same gold being smuggled out of the Amazon.
And this leads us to a really provocative question posed directly by the source material, one that gets right to the heart of it all. What does it say about the legitimacy of a country when its leaders are allegedly paying their own army with smuggled gold bars?
So let's pull all these pieces together, shall we? We've got massive environmental destruction, a global smuggling ring, and a system allegedly built on pure corruption. What's the final verdict here? What's the big takeaway from all this?
Here's the core of it. The entire economic model has allegedly shifted. See, a productive economy makes things. It builds, it innovates, it adds value to the world. But an extractive economy, like the one described here, it just takes things. It cashes in its natural assets for quick money with zero thought for the future.
And that brings us to the final, incredibly powerful verdict from the source material. This is really the moral of the story. When extraction replaces production, you aren't a country, you're a criminal enterprise with a flag. A pretty chilling thought to leave you on.